Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
I'm ready.
We're ready. KCRG-TV, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Jay Green with KCRG-TV. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear, Jay.
It's great to be speaking with you. What's life like in outer space for you so far?
It's been great. We've been here. It's hard to believe it. We've been here over a month, and yeah, time is flying by. But yeah, it's been amazing getting to work and do science and float, and yeah, it's a pretty incredible job.
What's been your biggest adjustment other than no gravity?
I think that's the biggest one. I think the biggest thing is realizing the workspace is three-dimensional, and you can walk on the walls, the ceilings. As you can kind of see, there's wires all over the place, so being conscious of where your feet are at, but also being able to rotate and do work on a rack that's on the wall normally, and that being completely natural. So yeah, getting used to that and constantly reorienting your body to whatever the task is takes some getting used to.
You were actually selected to be part of this a few years ago. Do you remember the exact time you got the phone call that said you're doing this, and what was going through your mind at the time?
Yeah, I actually remember it really well. I was actually at Edwards Air Force Base. I was getting ready to go fly, so I was about to go brief for a flight, and I had told the folks I was working with I might get a phone call because we knew the calls were going out that day. So literally as I was walking out to go brief the flight, the phone rang, and some of the other people in the flight were standing around, and one of the things they told us is we couldn't tell anyone, so I had to stand on the phone, and they're all watching. They knew we were getting calls, and I had to pretend like it was no big deal, like it was just another phone call. So I was just like, yep, and put the phone down and tried to act like nothing was going on. After the brief, called my wife and told her, and then it wasn't for several weeks that actually everyone figured out that was actually the phone call telling me I had gotten picked.
What do you hope to accomplish up there in your 6 months?
Well, so, Jay, we have about 300 pieces of science we're doing, to include this thing that just floated off the wall at me, one of the Astro Bees that tests out some basically drone technology and autonomous intelligence. But, yeah, coming up on SpaceX on a cargo dragon in a few weeks, there's some experiments we'll be doing for cancer protein research to basically work on different ways to deliver cancer drugs, as well as some things, some basically 3D printed bandages to help wounds repair faster. So every day it's kind of a different set of experiments. It's kind of the beauty of this job is you never know what you're going to be working at next day. Yeah, it's every day is a new set of hopefully life-changing science for people on Earth.
You went to high school in Waterloo, right? Did you know you wanted to go into space when you were in high school?
So I think as a young kid, like a 5-year-old, I definitely wanted to go to space. I think in junior high and high school, I think in the idea of trying to set realistic goals, thinking astronaut was never a thing I could do, I had really fixated on going to the Air Force Academy, and that was really my goal. And it wasn't until I got a little older that I actually revisited that original dream and realized I could actually become an astronaut, that was actually a possibility. But it was definitely something the idea of flying and exploring and kind of pushing human knowledge was something I was definitely interested in high school.
What was the reaction from your family when you said, hey, Dad's going to outer space?
I think it varied. My kids are varying ages. I think the youngest one was like whatever, didn't really register until I think we went to Florida to go on the rocket. The other ones are pretty excited, and they still. I get to talk to them on the phone and video calls from time to time, and they're pretty excited. And it's pretty cool to see them and talk to them and hear about what's going on back home. And obviously I miss them, but we stay really well connected, and they're definitely excited and happy to be part of the journey.
Any chance that you'll walk on Mars?
That'd be great. Hopefully humans get there. That's our plan. A lot of what we're doing here on the station is to test out technology for the moon and Mars. So we have the benefit here of being close to home and with backup systems, so that if something breaks, we have something else to use. but a lot of what we're doing is testing the life support systems that we would use to sustain human presence on Moon and then eventually on Mars. But yeah, the Artemis program, that's what we're doing right now, is working on that technology, and my class, as well as everyone in the astronaut office, is helping with that development.
What do you think will be your biggest challenge up there?
In the near term, I think just staying ahead of things. So every day is different, and so a lot of what we're doing is the result of years of research and work by scientists on the ground. So trying to make sure that we do our due diligence to succeed and make sure that their experiments work well. So a lot of work on our part to make sure that works. So that's the near term. I think in the long term for the Artemis program, it's the human lander system. We have the Gateway, which is the station around the Moon. We have the SLS rocket. We have the Orion module, and the HLS, the lander that gets us from the Gateway down to the surface, is the thing we're working on now. So that's a lot of engineers and astronauts working on developing that program as we speak, and it's coming along quickly. But I think that will be the biggest challenge here as we move forward and send humans back to the Moon to stay.
One final question for you. What do you want to say to the people of Eastern Iowa?
Let's say I got to see Iowa from space the other day. I was able to trace back the Mississippi and then look west and see the snow line. So I could tell there's some folks in Iowa that have snow and others that are lucky enough to not have it, and definitely snow up here. But definitely thank the folks of Iowa for the upbringing I got. It definitely, those Midwest ethics and work values are why I'm here. And, that culture of a small town kind of, community, but also lots of opportunities. So to the people of Cedar Falls, Waterloo, and all of Northeast Iowa, thanks for getting me here. And I love looking down there and seeing that snow line halfway through the state.
All right, Station, that finishes my portion of the interview.
All right, thanks, Jay. Have a good day.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the KCRG-TV portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from the Kitsap Sun.
Station, this is Josh Farley from the Kitsap Sun of the USA Today Network. How do you read me?
I have you loud and clear, Josh. How do you read me?
Very well, thanks. Good morning, Kayla. How are you doing this morning?
I am fantastic. How are things on the Kitsap Peninsula?
Oh, they're great. They're great. Thanks so much for taking some time to talk with me this morning. You've talked a lot about the parallels between submarines, of course, and now being in space. And I just wondered, now that you've launched, if you feel the same way. If how is that reality?
I feel that more and more every day that I spend aboard the International Space Station. The parallels between the submarine force and working up here in space are really endless for me. It's a similar challenge if you think about it, where you're taking a group of human beings who are trying to accomplish a pretty big set of goals, a pretty big mission, and you're sending them into an environment where human beings aren't normally meant to be, whether that be deep under the surface of the ocean or in the vacuum of space. So all of the engineering challenges we need to solve to keep human beings alive and allow us to thrive and accomplish our mission as a team are the same, whether that's the generation of oxygen, the maintenance of pressure, the preparation for things that go off nominally or emergencies. All of those things are so similar. And I think the biggest parallel is the kind of teamwork it takes in order to do something that complicated and challenging.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are there differences also? Now that you've experienced both, I'm just curious, what are things that aren't so similar?
Yeah, the biggest differences in my experience are we have a really small team up here. Right now, there's 5 crew members on the USOS crew. There's 2 long-term cosmonauts, and then we have some visitors up here, a cosmonaut and 2 Japanese spaceflight participants. But compared to a submarine where you have 165 people or so out there with you and every technical specialty on board the ship, we have a little bit of a different operational concept. We have a few astronauts aboard the space station, but all of that technical support and expertise is on the ground in mission control in Houston. And so it's a little different than, when you have a problem to solve, you have to check that you have communication coverage, call the ground, and they call the experts, as opposed to just kind of calling, over the 1MC aboard a submarine, or going and finding the chief or petty officer who's an expert in that system for help. And then the other thing is it's a lot harder to get a resupply in space. It takes months and sometimes years of planning to get a cargo vehicle or new equipment up here. So it's not as easy as just bringing on new supplies from a friendly port. You actually have to have everything we need or plan really far in advance to get new supplies.
Okay, and you've obviously grown accustomed to working in small spaces. As part of the Artemis program, you may fly to the moon in increasingly small confines. Again, are the parallels the same there, and how do you adjust to working in very intricate spaces around, literally probably billions of dollars in equipment?
Yeah, I think working in small spaces and in confined spaces is always really challenging. It was a huge learning curve getting up here and getting used to the fact that if you let go of something, like I let go of this microphone and look away for too long, you might never see the microphone again. So you really have to pay attention and get used to those things and be really efficient with how you use your space. But the other challenge of working in tight quarters is working with a team. Other human beings in those tight quarters can be really challenging. This crew is fantastic, the Expedition 66 crew, and we're having a fantastic time every day. We laugh together, we support each other, and it's just reinforced a lesson I learned in the submarine force that who you're doing it with matters way more than what you're doing. So having the right people around you makes anything possible.
Okay, and what was it like to launch into space? And was there any part of your training that maybe didn't prepare you for that? Like, was there anything that surprised you?
The ride to space was absolutely incredible. We launched aboard a Falcon 9 in a SpaceX Dragon capsule, and they've really refined the training since the first few flights. They have recordings of what you can expect it to sound like. We do centrifuge training to experience the G-forces. We practice all the nominal and off-nominal procedures. And so I think for us, we were actually surprised how smooth the ride was. It was actually kind of hard to tell sometimes that you're in a rocket because it was so smooth. And when we finally reached microgravity, we needed our zero-G indicator to let us know that we were actually in space. So most of the time we're just pinching ourselves. But I think our training prepares us really well. But there's some things you just can't plan for until you experience them yourself. Getting used to weightlessness, how your body feels in weightlessness, how to get around. So there are certain things you just have to wait till you get your first chance to do it.
Cool. And what about the spacewalk? Obviously, you repaired a damaged antenna. I'm curious how that went. What was it like to be out and floating in space for 6 hours plus? 6 hours plus.
The spacewalk was absolutely incredible. I think that's a big part of every astronaut's dream to come to the space station, includes hopefully the opportunity to do a spacewalk. And I was lucky enough to be part of the team that replaced the antenna you mentioned. And the biggest thing to get used to going outside in the vacuum of space in a spacesuit is it's so different than looking out a window. I thought it was overwhelming and intense to see the Earth through the cupola window here aboard the space station, but seeing it with a full field of view through my spacesuit helmet just blew me away. You really get a sense for how beautiful, how huge the world is. It's moving below you at 17,000 miles per hour, and it's just incredible. And the best part, I think, about that day was just the entire team showed up and brought their A game. We were outside getting our work done, but we were supported by the rest of the crew inside who suited us up or did robotics operations, and the team in mission control who was ready to support us when things didn't go according to plan. So it just felt like such an honor to be a part of that team.
Cool. Is there anything about being in space that scares you a little bit? I know that there was a missile launched into a satellite that broke, and some of that space debris can be a bit hairy at times. Is there anything that is kind of puts your on edge a little bit?
I always feel that our training prepares us to deal with those unexpected circumstances that come up. And really, I've never been uncomfortable or nervous because I really trust our team. Even when the space debris event happened, Mission Control made really good choices, really conservative choices to protect us, and they communicated really clearly about those things. I would say the only time I kind of, said, whoa, this is kind of intense, was actually on the spacewalk. It's pretty intense to look down at the world. Sometimes you get the sensation that you're just like hanging off the edge of the cliff at the highest height you've ever been at. But I was actually talking to my niece and nephew about it the other day, and my nephew and I over the summer, he was a little scared. He's 4. He was a little scared to jump in the cold water of Lake Roosevelt near Spokane. And we were talking about how everybody gets scared, and it's more important to be brave than fearless. And so I think that's kind of all of our attitude, that sometimes you get put in uncomfortable or unexpected situations, but if you trust the people around you and trust that you can make it through it, you can do it.
Cool. Is there any spot on Earth particularly that you watch for as you orbit at 17,000 plus miles an hour?
Yeah, it's been really cool, actually, to brush up on my geography skills as we pass over different areas of the Earth. And you start to recognize these characteristics where you can tell what continent you're over just based on the colors and the geology you see. But I always look forward to passing over the United States and seeing our home. When we pass over Canada and Alaska, you have an opportunity to see auroras, which are really beautiful. And whether it's a day pass or a night pass, kind of seeing cities that you recognize or have spent time in, looking down at my family in Seattle or my friends in Houston, always really warms my heart.
Cool. And tell me about, in our time remaining, Artemis, and whether you would actually fly to Mars, and of course the idea of going to the lunar South Pole. I'm just wondering, how are you feeling about all of this as we move forward?
Everybody at NASA is so excited about the Artemis program. The space station has been an incredible platform for the last 20 years, and we've learned so much from operating in low Earth orbit, but we're ready to explore again and push the boundaries, do things that we've never done before. And so the opportunity to return to the moon, not only to visit, but to stay with permanent habitats, to generate power, to do amazing geology, to explore craters, to try to harvest resources, and to practice all of the skills we're going to need to push further on into the solar system to destinations like Mars is just such an exciting challenge, and we have the right team to do it at NASA. So we couldn't be more pumped to see the Artemis 1 launch early next year, and then the crewed vehicles launch hopefully just within a few years after that. So we're really excited.
Cool. Okay. That is all my questions. Thanks for taking some time. It's cool to get to see you here, and that you are a pioneer. It's really neat. From the submarine force to today, you're still pioneering, and we look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future.
Thank you so much, and go Navy.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you to all participants from KCRG-TV and the Kitsap Sun station. We are now resuming operational audio communications.